The sun is out. Hello fellow humans. Meal prep at its finest. So what I've decided to have is some turkey meatballs. So I'm going to do some turkey meatballs. I'm going to do a little sauce. And you know, like the Swedish ones you get at that big superstore. You know which one I'm talking about, IKEA. And I couldn't decide what to have these meatballs with. I thought, shall I do a butter bean mash? Because I've heard about this at my meeting. They're talking about the butter beans and mashing them up. And I've decided to go for a cauliflower mash instead. So I'm gonna boil my cauliflower, I'm gonna mash it up, put a few flavourings in there, have it with my turkey meatballs. So I'll show you that. Starting here with the cauliflower. So I cut up a full head of cauliflower and I popped it on to boil to cook through for my cauliflower mash. Now I have made cauliflower mash before with a little bit of potato and I would recommend that. I would not recommend just having the cauliflower by itself. Parsley smells like one of those things that should be medicinal because it smells like it's got such a distinct smell, hasn't it? And I didn't even used to like parsley. It is quite a strong herb, isn't it? I love it now. Medicinal. It's doing me good, is all that parsley. On to the turkey meatballs. So in goes the turkey mince, followed by a couple of big handfuls of parsley, chopped parsley, some onion granules, some garlic granules. Here I am doing my trick with the egg. I always have eggs that are just slightly past that sell by date, so I have to do the test where you put them in water and see if they float. If they float, they've gone off, haven't they? So those two were sinking to the bottom. They were okay to use. I used 2 eggs and some seasoning and mix that up. How many points is my turkey mixture, you may ask? My turkey meatballs? 0 points. I bet you already knew that. I formed the turkey mixture into small meatballs and put them on a lined baking tray. If you are not a parsley fiend like me, because I'm well aware that they're very heavy on the parsley, you can put in dried herbs, you can put in no herbs, you can put in whatever herb you like, fresh or dried. I've gone for the fresh because it's ages since I've had parsley. And when I have pasta sauce, oh, I love it when it's really heavy. So I'm going to pop these in the oven now for about half an hour, 180, and I will get on with my sauce and making up my mash. Sauce, guys, absolutely fantastic. Tasted just like the IKEA one. A Knorr stock cube, chicken stock, with a little bit of boiling hot water to melt, with a teaspoon of English mustard. Then I chopped up a large handful of dill, and it was the dill, I think, that made it taste like that famous IKEA meatball sauce. I added 100 millilitres of double cream. Now you could sub this for a lighter double cream or a single cream. This sauce was actually quite thick, so I added a couple of drops of boiling water. And then I moved on to my cauli mash, so I just added a little bit of the light margarine and some salt and pepper and mashed that up. If I was making this again, guys, I think I would go for the butter bean mash. I wasn't taking on this cauliflower. I think cauliflower is good if you've already got potato in there, but no, I think the butter bean would have been the best way to go. Once the meatballs were out of the oven, they had leaked a little bit. I think it was the meat juices and the egg. Once they were off the tray and onto the plate with the sauce, they looked great. You know that smell when you walk into a pub and they've got home cooked food on? This meal is 9 points. Can't wait to tuck in, it looks amazing. Breakfast this morning, so I've got some whole grain granary bread here, 3 points. Avocado, which is 2 points, some smashed avocado. I weighed that out. I then put a little bit of HP sauce on top of that. I've got 3 rashers of Mattison's turkey bacon under there, and then I've topped it with some fresh tomato, and I've just got 1 piece of bread, and then I put a little bit more HP sauce on the top, because you cannot have a bacon butty without that HP sauce. That's my feelings. I know some people like a bit of ketchup, don't they? This is 3, 4, 5, 6 points, or 7 if you count the HP sauce. That's my breakfast for today. Cut to what I had later that day. So I've got some natural yogurt, some nectarine and some nut butter, roasted some cauliflower with some spices. Then I moved on to my tea. So I'm using this paprika and onion chip seasoning. Now this is just smoked paprika and onion. So I popped this on top of my salmon and this was very tasty. Wrap that up, un papillote, is that correct? Is that the correct term? I think so. Then it went into the oven to cook through 25 minutes and I had that with some miso dressing and a walnut and blue cheese salad, a corn on the cob, as you know I love corn on the cob, and some more fruits and yogurt. I'm very into the fruit and yogurt at the moment. I think it's the sunny weather. Hello fellow humans! I was eating something, sorry. Okay, so today we're doing a bit of meal prep, guys. We are making a quiche, a breakfast quiche. Does anybody eat quiche for breakfast? This is what I'm going to be doing this week, eating a breakfast quiche, because I'm all about the savoury right now. I'm having a savoury breakfast every day. I thought somebody was at the door then. It's weird when you're filming because if somebody comes to the door, you just look ridiculous, obviously. Oh. What is it?
Ridiculous.
Making some lamb koftas. I'm going to make is it called tabbouleh, where you make it with quinoa? I'm also making that with the lamb, but that will be made fresh on the day. So I'm going to make the lamb today, and then I'll show you the tabbouleh when I make that. A feta cheese dip for having at my desk with some crudités. And I'm looking around here, I'm making a chorizo and chickpea stew. I think that's everything, guys. Shall we get on? Starting with the quiche. So I weighed out 280 grams of the ground almonds. I melted 50 grams of the Flora Light spread. Then I poured that on top of my ground almonds, mixed together, and then added 1 egg. Eggs are 0 points. So I popped that in there, mixed it all around, and that was my base. I did add a little bit of salt to this, and then I squished it into my fry-lighted tart case. Squish, squish, squish. I did give it a little prod with a fork. Now I don't know if this does anything or if it's needed, but I felt fancy, so I did do it. Just put my jumper on. Getting a bit chilly now. Those ground almonds and butter and egg into the oven, my pastry case, and that is to go in for 12 minutes. So that'll bake now on about 180 to 200 it says. I have made one of these cases, pastry cases before. I have liked it. I have substituted the almonds because I am trying not to have too many glucose spikes, so an almond will create less of a glucose spike than the flour would. So even though it's a little bit higher points, when I've pointed this up, for a slice for my breakfast it will be 9 points. I am willing to spend 9 points on a breakfast that will keep me full until lunchtime. On to the filling of the quiche. So I weighed out 150 grams of the Fage yogurt and added a couple of eggs. No shells, please. No shells, ladies. And then I gave that a really good mix. I added a large handful of fresh dill. Another really good herb, isn't it? Fresh dill. I heavily seasoned with some salt and some pepper. And then I added some defrosted garden peas. This is my goat's cheese log. Now I've just got a bit of water on that scale. I do apologise. This is a very messy vlog. I was doing a lot of meal prepping. I weighed out 60 grams of that goat's cheese and then I mixed that in. Oh my goodness me, I absolutely adore goat's cheese. So I added that into the mix. By this point my pastry case had come out of the oven. I left it in there 15 minutes and then I brought it out, let it cool. Then I added the filling and popped it back in. That quiche went into the oven for 30 minutes, and in the meantime I started on my lamb koftas. So I used 500 grams of minced lamb. I added to this 5 cloves of crushed garlic, and then I added a couple of heaped teaspoons of the garam masala spice mix. Now this is an Indian spice mix and it has quite a few spices in there. You could just add some cumin or some chili powder or some curry powder, whatever you have in, and then I added an egg and seasoned that up, and that's so easy. I mean, that's done. They're my koftas. Now I know koftas are usually on metal skewers, however I didn't do that. As you can see, I am just rolling them into the kofta shape.
I've done my koftas a little bit like you would get them on the kebab. However, I haven't put them on kebabs, as you can see. I don't know if that makes a difference. I would presume that they would not cook as quickly because the metal skewer through the middle isn't heating up and cooking the inside. But also, a sausage cooks, doesn't it? And they're a similar sort of... That one isn't. That looks like the snake out of Jungle Book. Look at his head. You're a sneaky snake. No kebab sticks, so I think it'll take a little bit longer to cook. However, lamb is quite a fatty meat, isn't it? And it doesn't dry out. So I'm going to pop these in the oven now, and I'm just going to check on them in about 25 minutes, see how they're going.
We're on to the chorizo and chickpea stew. So the chorizo, I mean, I feel like the snowman in the film. Have you watched The Snowman at Christmas time where he tries on all the noses? There's a lot of sausage-shaped foods in this vlog this week. I used 100 grams of the chorizo and I chopped that into chunks. Then I sliced 1 white onion. This is one of my favourite tea, guys. I would recommend this one if you are wanting something comforting. This is one of my favourites and it's very low point. So I popped that chorizo into the pan. You can hear it sizzling there. Well, hello Mr. Quiche, how handsome you look. Then I added the onion to the pan with the chorizo, and I didn't add any oil because the chorizo already has plenty of oil. And then I added a teaspoon of this smoky chili boost. Now this is from the Very Lazy company. This made it very smoky tasting. I would recommend buying some of this to add to your soups and stews. I really like it. It's not just chili, it's got paprikas, some vinegar, balsamic vinegar in there. It tastes really good. Then I added a tin of chickpeas and a couple of tins of chopped tomatoes. To this I then added a couple of tablespoons of the balsamic vinegar, and then I leave this on the hob for half an hour to reduce down. Whilst this was cooking, I moved on to my feta and tofu dip. So I've already got my feta cheese in there. That is a full pack of light feta cheese. Then I added the silken tofu to that. And I've never really used silken tofu. I've had it in a restaurant before, not being keen on it. But for a dip, it's actually very good and very high protein. To that I added some Italian seasoning, some onion granules and some garlic granules, and then I blitzed it up. I added lots of salt and pepper and then blitzed it again and that was done. So this would be great with crudities, or if you wanted to toast some pita breads or Weight Watchers tortilla chips. All good options. This smells yummy. I've just added some black pepper. I've been reducing this now for about 25 minutes. I like to reduce it for about half an hour because it just makes it all sticky and gooey and unctuous. And I'm going to add my spinach to the pan and wilt that down a little bit, and then finish with some parsley. And then once it is cooled, I will transfer it to a tub, and then I can just heat it up when I need it. It's a complete meal in itself.
You don't really need to put anything else with it. It's got your chorizo sausage in, and it's got your chickpeas, and it's really filling and really tasty. But if you did want to add like a naan bread, a mini naan bread, there's some couscous, some quinoa, anything like that would go really well with this.
Adding a couple of 100 grams of spinach to the pan, wash spinach. It looks a lot, doesn't it? But it soon reduces down. I can only apologise again, guys. I mean, I have been meal prepping quite a while at this point. I clean up at the end. Do you know what? I'm probably going to clean up as I go in future, because looking at this cooker now, it's giving me a bit of anxiety. This is reality, isn't it?
They look like comedy sausages. So these are my lamb koftas, and I'm going to have it chopped up over a quinoa salad. So I'm going to make like a cold quinoa salad, but cut my koftas up on top, and we'll have that over 2 days. My chickpea stew, oh divine, I've been making this for years. This is the same one I've been making for such a long time. I really enjoy this. And then we have got the quiche, and I'm just going to cut this into portions now and pop away in the fridge, and that's going to be my breakfast over a few days. I've got the feta and tofu dip, which I'm going to have with crudités at work.
Now all that's left to do is to tidy the foods away, store them in the fridge, and then clean up, guys. I mean, for the love of all that is, I do need to clean up. It needs a clean, doesn't it, that top? Let's get everything into that dishwasher, lickety split.
Make mini pancakes muffins with that. But today we're making.
Good morning, guys. So I'm just off to work, and I have got some carrot battens here. I've got my feta and tofu dip. They're very high in protein. That is 4 points. Then I have got my quiche for 9 points. It's got eggs, cheese, it's got nuts. So even though the portion size isn't massive, it should keep me full until I get home about 3 p.m. You could have that with a big salad if you wanted. And that all together is 13, is that 13 points? Yes, it is, isn't it? It would be a lot less. If you used Ready Roll, low point pastry, and you could easily do that, it would be a lower point quiche. And a lot of my points are coming from those almonds.
Howdy, partners. I've got line dancing tonight. I've been to work now. I had the quiche, I had the veggies and the feta and tofu dip. And then when I got back at 3 o'clock, I had some fruit and yogurt with a little bit of PB Fit drizzled over the top. It was delicious. I had a bit of pineapple and a bit of mango that I had in the fridge. That was lovely. Now I'm warming through the lamb koftas in the oven, and I am making the tabbouleh with the quinoa. I've rinsed my quinoa and I've popped it onto the hob. That has to cook for about 15 minutes, so I'm just keeping my eye on it now.
So I've chopped all my veggies for my tabbouleh. I've just got about a third of a large cucumber, some chopped up cherry tomatoes and some parsley. And this is my quinoa, which is 1 part quinoa, 1 part boiling water. Red onion would also be nice in this, like oh, it'd be tasty actually, some raw onion. I love raw onion. However, I did mention I am going to line dancing tonight, and I want to blow them away with my dancing prowess and not my breath. So I've skipped out on the onion. So my quinoa is cooked. I have rinsed that in cold water, as you can see. The little spirals have separated from the grain. That's usually how you know it's cooked. I know that you get tummy ache, don't you, if you eat undercooked quinoa. It's poisonous, I think. So I rinsed it before I popped it in the pan. Then I've cooked it. And now I have rinsed it with some cool water as I'm about to put my salad bits into it. And then I'm going to add just a tablespoon of the rice vinegar. You can add red wine vinegar, white wine vinegar, whatever type you'd like, really. Whatever you're having. Okay, so here is my tea. I've got 3 points worth of quinoa with my chopped veg in there. The vinegar is 0 points. I've got a little bit of the Fage yogurt on there, and that is 8 points, so it is 11 points overall. And here's Paul's, look, he's having the same thing, he's just having a little bit more meat and a little bit more quinoa. The lamb koftas, you could certainly make those with low-fat beef, or even a pork, or a turkey if you wanted to. Although I don't think you'd get the unctuousness that you do get with lamb. But I'm sure they would be tasty with turkey. And you could always, if you were having turkey, and you could always squeeze a little bit of sriracha over the top of this as well, if you wanted it a little bit spicier.
So we end on the lamb koftas this week. I don't know if I've mentioned this before, and I'm sorry for repeating myself, but I am starting to try and get a little bit more fat into my diet. You've probably seen that. You've probably seen that I'm using a little bit higher fat meat, a little bit. Now, I know this is contradictory to Weight Watchers. However, my nutritionist said it would be better to incorporate a little bit of fat into my diet. I'm only incorporating a little bit. I'm still tracking my points. I'm still trying to eat quite healthily. The same principles as Weight Watchers, just adding a little bit more fat in with the almonds for the base of that quiche and the lamb. If I don't lose consistently still at my meeting, I will have to look at that anyway and maybe bring them down. And there are options. You don't have to use the lamb, you don't have to use the almonds. You can still make these recipes and just make them a little bit lower point than what I'm doing. So that is it for this week, guys. I am so pleased you've got to this point. I mean, my goodness me, there's a few of you, oh, you're just absolute legends. Every week I see that you've put a comment down below, and I look forward to it so much. Thank you so much, guys. If you're watching consistently every week, I don't know how you do it. I don't think I could watch me every week. Thank you so much, and I will see you next time. The sun is out here. We're having a blast. Paul is jet washing, so literally he is blasting, and the boys are out and the cows are out, and we're having a great time. I'm going to show you outside this stunning weather. Okay, I hope you're having some sun, and I hope you're safe and you're warm, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.